It's Lee Terrier from pwmania.com here with the one and the only Scott Demore. Scott, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Lee. Thanks for taking the time.
It's a pleasure to be here. I was just sitting outside waiting, and the great surroundings. You're in London, you're back in the UK. How's the tour been?
It's been fantastic. I mean, getting back here into the UK market has been a huge goal of ours, and I think it's been an unbelievable week. The reception from the crowds has been amazing.
Amazing, yeah. And it's not long since Bound for Glory, and obviously the big announcement going back to TNA. The question is going to be, why now? What's made it come back around?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think in my mind it's always been TNA wrestling. Like in my heart, I left when I left TNA wrestling. I left like a real thriving company, and respectfully, when I came back here after Anthem Sports had acquired, TNA Impact, it was not the same company. And I sat in this very room in 2018 and, answered questions about, is this the end? And I think that in an ideal world, we would have been TNA the whole time. But I know 2018 was just the wrong time to do it. If we would have came out in 2018 and said, hey, we're TNA Wrestling again, people would have went, ugh. Because it had gone from TNA Wrestling to Impact to TNA Wrestling to Global Force Wrestling, back to Impact Wrestling. If we would have said TNA, this would have been, and it just, quite bluntly, I think that the company, the previous regimes had lost the trust of the fans. So I think in 2018, the most important thing for us was to build stability and consistency. We needed to go out there, and we talked about it at the time in 2018. We were going to work our butts off, and we were going to earn back fans' trust one fan at a time. And we're going to do that by when we promise something, we deliver. And if you invested your money or your time, if you bought a pay-per-view, if you bought a piece of merchandise, we're going to reward you for that. If you spent your time watching our product, because your time is just as valuable as your money, in some ways more valuable, we were going to reward that with entertainment value. And I think we've done that consistently over the last handful of years. And I think, we flourished in a COVID era, which was a tough time.
Yeah.
And I think coming out of that, we've been working hard to continue to set the stage for where we are now. And I think now we're at a point in time where people know if you watch an Impact show, you're going to see a quality wrestling show. And if you buy an Impact Wrestling pay-per-view, you're going to see a damn good pay-per-view, and you're going to get your money's worth. So I think really at this point in time, it's now time to go back to our true branding, the branding that I always think, the name that I always felt we should be was TNA Wrestling. And I think the group of individuals that we have together, both on the roster and behind the scenes, is the perfect group, because I don't take returning to that name. Those three initials have a lot of weight to me. I have a great, love for TNA Wrestling. I think that what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is that fans do as well. And I feel that this group right now at this time, truly is the perfect group to be TNA Wrestling. I think that the spirit of the company lives in the current roster and team that we have. I think the product is fantastic, and I think that the passion and the drive that we have is perfectly aligned with what TNA Wrestling is. And I think and I think the response from the fans shows that the fan base is excited and ready for TNA Wrestling to return. So I think the timing's perfect.
Amazing. And how hard was it to get the name back, like legalities and stuff like that? Have you had to work with people from the past to get that back?
No, I mean, truthfully, the IP, is something that transferred to Anthem Sports when it acquired the property. But like I said, just the timing was bad. I don't think it would have been well received in 2018, and frankly, I don't think. It sounds kind of crazy to say. I don't think we deserve the right to hang the name TNA on the door. Now I truly think we do. So, I mean, I'm really excited about 2024 and what the future holds.
Yeah, man. And I guess then you talk about 2018, because there was that period that we know. I think, every big wrestling fan, when TNA started out in 2002, and I would say right up until around 2010, I think it was the best thing. I think it still influences what we see today, and what you're doing now is influencing everything around you. I think, how hard was it to almost reset in 2018? Before the COVID era, then obviously go through that and come out now and go, right, this is the time we can really start to jump high again.
I mean, it was really hard. I mean, when you say that 2002 to 2010 were You know, the years like I left in the very beginning of 2010.
Right.
So I left a very vibrant company. And the company that I returned to in 2018 when Anthem acquired it was not the same company. So, I mean, it was tough. And I think we put in a lot of hard work in 2018 and 2019. As we got into 2020, I really felt like we were in a good spot to hit the ground running. We had a UK tour planned for 2020. We had mapped out the routing and what cities we were going to. We had done a lot of the work into it. We were excited. We had, you know, if you look at it, I mean, it was right before COVID hit, where we filmed the 1 hour TNA wrestling special for Access TV. And we're getting ready to do the special event, the TNA There's No Place Like Home event. So there's an alternative reality where COVID doesn't hit. We have that There's No Place Like Home. And maybe this all happens in 2020. But I'm not somebody that looks back and says, what if? I'm somebody that looks forward and says, what's next? So, you know, that's not the direction it went. COVID came. And I think that we were able to truly thrive in a COVID era. I think at the time when the entire world shut down, when there was no entertainment or sports being produced, other than I always joke, there was 2 billionaires and us producing content, because there was nothing going on in Hollywood. There was no sports being played. There was WWE, there was AEW, and there was us. 2 companies that have near unlimited budgets, and then the little engine that could, just chugging away. And I thought we put out some great content, and we adapted to the COVID era. And I think we came out of it, and you know, it took us a little bit of time, because during COVID we had managed, we had thrived, we continued to put out product. But as we got back out on the road, it took us a little bit of time to hit the ground running. Right, we're a little bit rusty when it came to running events and getting out there and marketing. And I think what you saw 2022 was really getting back into the swing of things. And I think in 2023 you started to see a real change and some positive growth.
Oh yeah.
And I think when you look at it, you look at the crowd we had at Slammiversary, you look at the crowd we had at the 1000th episode, you look at the 2 nights of back-to-back full buildings in Chicago on Bound for Glory weekend. I think the timing's perfect for us to flip that switch. You know, I'm really proud of the strides we made, and I think that right now we sit here coming on, you know, the tail end of, you know, BFG in those 2 days, and then doing this UK tour. I just think it's the perfect way to wrap up the Impact era and start looking forward to what TNA Wrestling has to offer.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's just grown and grown. We've talked to a lot of your superstars over the last 18 months, and they just talk about the harmony in the group, the fact that everybody wants to work together to make it stronger and to really make it thrive. How far do you think you can go? You know, like you say, you're the little engine. Wherever that goes next, you know, billionaires are over there. How far do you think you can go with this?
I mean, I don't believe in setting caps. I mean, I came to a TNA Wrestling in 2003. It was the first year of the company. It was only months old. And, you know, I joined it, you know, on the ground floor. And we were running a dilapidated old fairgrounds flea market, you know, that we aptly named the Asylum, because us and I think everybody that packed into that place on Wednesday nights must have been crazy to tackle what we were trying to tackle. And from there we went to Universal Studios. We took a gamble on going on Fox Sports Net at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and saying, we're going to show the world we can put out consistently a weekly television show, an episodic television show. We did that. And then we debuted on Spike TV in October of 2005. And you look at where the company grew. Like I said, the company that I left in the very beginning of 2010 was a thriving, you know, company. I think that TNA Wrestling stepped into a void when there was only one company, only one product, only one vision. And I think it's, you know, it's really, you see its fingerprints throughout the wrestling business still to this day. So I'm not going to sit here and say, like, you know, like what the I don't think there's a cap. I don't think there's a ceiling. I think we go out there. I think we tackle it every day. I think we take the work ethic that we've developed in the past 6 years, and I think we continue to wake up every morning and work harder than anybody else to go out there and put out a great product. I think that the group of individuals on the roster and behind the scenes is as good as any, better, truthfully, than any I've ever seen. And the cohesion we have between the talent and the crew, to me, is truly special. You know, the fact that we go out there on a true team effort, night in and night out, day in and day out, is special. And I'm proud and honored to be part of this team, and I'm really excited for what's to come.
I bet. And does that include 6-sided rings?
No, I mean it's one of those things. It's the first question that comes up. It's the first thing I tried to address in our press pass recently. I know that people love the six-sided ring. I was in the room when we made the decision to go six-sided. It was part of the whole process, and I mean it's got a little place in my heart too, right? Because it's one of the things that set us apart. But at the end of the day, just about every single talent that's ever wrestled in it says that it was much harder to wrestle in. It was more dangerous, not just injury, but even more so just daily wear and tear. It was harder on your body. And I mean, my thing to any wrestling fan that says, "Oh, you have to be six-sided," is, what do you value more, the aesthetics of a six-sided ring or the health and safety of the talent? So I will not apologize for putting talent, health and safety first. I think TNA has had great matches in four-sided rings. It's had great matches in six-sided rings. So you tell me, all things considered, the talent is safer and more comfortable in a four-sided ring. That's an easy decision.
Yeah, makes total sense, and interesting to hear, because obviously I'm sure, like you say, the rumblings would have been, is it going back to six-sided? But like you say, and like you've proved, the wrestling's there. And I think what's been really great is that, you know, the feuds that have come out of it, the roster, the storylines, and the matches that are coming in week and week, then month for month on pay-per-views have been really, really solid. And so then going forward, when you think about where it goes next, there's been names. CM Punk is a name that I'm sure you've heard many times recently, talking about being around TNA. What people like him, where do you feel a huge name that's come maybe from one of these billion-dollar companies, do you feel that they have a place in TNA, and do you feel that's something that you want to look into?
Yeah, I mean, I think all avenues are open, right? If something makes good business sense, if something's good for us, works for the talent, and is something that excites the fans, then we're certainly open to it. You know, and it's not a secret. CM Punk was backstage the day after Bound for Glory. That's nothing new. He was backstage earlier this year when he was under contract to AEW, and they were just getting ready for the debut of Collision.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty open policy. If you want to come by and visit, you're more than welcome. One simple rule: be respectful, and you'll be respected. And CM Punk, when he came around earlier this year, he was a pleasure to have. When he came around here the day after BFG, he was a pleasure to have. So. Is there a possibility in the future? I'll never say never. You know, I mean, is there going to be a place for veteran talent and senior talent in TNA wrestling? Of course. You know, the value can't be understated of good senior veteran talent, right? Yeah. Both name recognition and draw ability, as well as for experience wise.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, it's no different than having, an Eric Young or a Frankie Kazarian in the locker when it comes to having that veteran experience that can't be undervalued. So when you look at that, I mean, the door's open, whether it's somebody from one of those two companies, whether it's somebody from somewhere else, whether it's Will Ospreay, who just came in and did 3 events for us, and it was a pleasure to have around. I mean, I think it's great that Will let his feelings be known about how much TNA wrestling has meant to him.
Yeah.
He said he's a TNA kid. He was inspired to be a wrestler watching AJ Styles on TNA wrestling, and to me, that's one of the cool things is the fact that we are part of inspiring a guy like Will Ospreay, no matter where he ends up. It's pretty common knowledge. His contract's up in February of 2024. Where is he going? Who knows? For him to sit there and say, no matter what happens in February of next year, I'm always going to be supportive of what's going on here. I'm always going to be supportive of TNA wrestling and that group back there that's so special. Mm-hmm. To me, that's cool to come out of the mouth of the arguably, in my opinion, probably the greatest wrestler in the world right now, consensus number 1, the guy who's had in 2023 a year that's probably unrivaled by any wrestler for any single year. For him to come in and do that, he doesn't need to say those words. I mean, he doesn't need to do any of that. And for him to do that, I mean, I think is truly appreciated, and it shows the effect that we've had on this industry. So, I mean, look, wherever Will Ospreay ends up in February 2024, like he said, no matter where he is, he'll be supportive and rooting for us. The exact same thing goes there. He's been a pleasure to have here. Would it be great to have Will Ospreay as part of Impact Wrestling? Of course it would. TNA Wrestling? Of course it would. We're about to become TNA Wrestling again. Again, a move I don't take lightly. Those initials weigh heavy on me. There's something I love and I treasure. Will feels the same way. Would he would be, in a certain reality, he's the perfect flag bearer to be TNA wrestling. He's his generation's AJ Styles. and he's the guy who's going to inspire the next generations, Will Ospreay or AJ Styles. So, doors wide open. I think we're going to go out there. I think we're going to make some great moves in 2024. What they are, time will tell. But we're going to keep pushing forward. We're going to grow, and I think we're really going to make some waves.
It's interesting you say that, and you mentioned Will, and you mentioned Eric Young, Frankie Kazarian. They came from WWE and AEW. They came back because they believed in what was happening here. And it was obviously the association with AEW in the COVID era and stuff like that. How do you find that going forward? Is that something you want to retain? New Japan being one of them, the big US companies, someone over here, a smaller independent company like Rev Pro, Progress. Are these different associations you want to retain, or is it about TNA now?
No, I mean, look, I think the collaboration is great. I think, there was too many years spent in wrestling where everybody just played in their own sandbox. So I think that anytime it makes sense for the two companies and it's something exciting for the fans, it's worth exploring. We've had a great relationship with AAA, Lucha Libre out of Mexico for many, many years now. That relationship started really in year one of this company. And then, you look at what we've done in previous eras with Japanese companies, including New Japan. You look at what we've done the last little bit with New Japan. Yeah. I think it's great that they can be there in Sumo Arena and you can have the Machine Guns and Josh Alexander out there in a packed Sumo Arena. I think it's amazing that Will Ospreay can come to Bound for Glory and to Turning Point and have Match of the Year contending matches, with the people on our roster. So I think those type of crossovers are great. I think it's also great to see talent move between the companies. I look at it and you see a guy like Frankie Kazarian who, a little less than a year, a little less than a year ago, sat there and decided, time for me to go someplace else. He had came to Impact last year, had done a couple of months as part of that collaboration. Yeah. And then he really, after he had been here, he just felt in his heart of hearts that, and Frankie hasn't had a bad word to say about AEW, nor do we. But Frankie, after spending a little bit of time with us, was like, because he said to me, he goes, it just, like being back, it feels right. It felt like home. Mm-hmm. So, Frankie, was able to work it out, leave AEW, and came here and made a splash at Hard to Kill. Eric Young, who was here, WWE came knocking, then he took it and went back there and then got there and realized sometimes there's buyer's remorse. Mm. Sometimes you go somewhere else and the grass isn't greener. And he got there and said, damn it, you know what? I don't think I'm in the right spot. And, he was able to make arrangements, and then he became available, so he came back here. Mm-hmm. I think it's great that as we sit here in 2023, I think about sitting in this room in 2018 and the perception that Impact Wrestling had, and the fact that it seemed like anyone, who had any equity was leaving. And there wasn't a lot of people interested in coming. And now I look here in 2023 and you see talents that are saying, you know what? I'm making a lot of money where I am, but I don't think I'm as happy. And I want to go be part of a movement. I want to be part of what, Impact Wrestling's doing. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's cool for, like I said, for Will Ospreay, the consensus, in my opinion, #1 wrestler in the world, to come be stoked about wrestling for Impact Wrestling. And as he said in Chicago after his match with Josh Alexander, I wanted to come here. I wanted to wrestle in Impact Wrestling, before my contract was up. But one of my lifelong dreams was to wrestle in a TNA wrestling ring. So to be able to make that happen, before February of 2024 is important to me. And then to leave the door open to see, hey, is there a possibility of doing things after that? So I think we're really poised in a great spot where people within the company know that we have something special. And then even beyond it, people outside of the company know something special. When you see it, how our roster and our crew bonds, when you see the dance off and dance parties like we did the other night, look, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But you know what? Those type of things don't happen in a locker room and in a company where there's a lot of unrest and there's a lot of unhappiness. That was a group that had just spent 4 great days here in the UK having a blast and just decided to cap it off and be a little silly and have some fun. So I'm really excited in the place that we are sitting here today, and I'm really excited for TNA Wrestling in 2024.
Amazing. And one name that I've got to mention, because I spoke to him, I think at the start of this year, and I'd watched him last year. And when I saw the picture with you and Leon Slater, I was like, that is a match made in heaven. I mean, talk us through getting him to sign on the dotted line and what you think about Leon and his future.
Leon Slater's as together as I've ever seen a 19-year-old talent, right? He's super talented. He's mature beyond his years. He's got all the potential in the world. When we talk about, generational talents, when we talk about AJ Styles, when we talk about Will Ospreay, when we talk about Kurt Angles, there's going to be a time here in not too many years when you put Leon Slater's name in that category. And I think to have Leon Slater join TNA Wrestling to start 2024, I think it's the perfect marriage. I mean, I think he is tailor-made when you design a wrestler to be in the X division. It's Leon Slater. And I'm sure he's going to excel in every division. He finds the right partner, he'll be in the tag team division. Certainly you've seen that in TNA wrestling historically, like size isn't what keeps you out of the world title picture. So I think the sky's the limit for Leon Slater, and I think he's the perfect fit for TNA Wrestling, and TNA Wrestling the perfect fit for him.
100%. And then I think about with TNA and where it sits, there's companies that do 6-7 hours a week of television. Mm-hmm. What you encapsulate in 2 hours is fantastic. And you've obviously got the streaming era now. How do you approach the sort of booking of wrestling in 2023 when in some places there's been a champion for 4 years who comes and goes, in other places there's just matches thrown together and it's just meant to be a great match there and then? What's your perfect sweet spot? How do you like to sort of approach how you create television that's captivating for an audience?
I mean, I think I quote this all the time. Jimmy Hart, who is a great friend of mine and somebody I've learned so much from over the years, he always says, when it's done right, wrestling's like the circus. There's something for everybody. So I don't think there's any one right way to do something. I believe that wrestling is art, it's not science. So there's not a right and a wrong. There's multiple rights and there's multiple wrongs, and there's works and doesn't work. So some days we're going to go out there, we're going to try stuff and it's going to work and it's going to be amazing. And there's other days we're going to go out there and we're going to try stuff and it doesn't work. And when it doesn't, we'll pivot and do something else. One of the other mentors that I have is Dutch Mantel. He, his of the many lessons that Dutch taught me over the years, one of them, because I used to obsess that every single thing you do has to be just right, otherwise the whole world's going to collapse. And Dutch has been around forever and seen it all. Sat me down one day and said, if I can give you one piece of advice. He goes, there's a lot of things that I don't know, but a couple things I do know. We are going to make mistakes sometimes. And when we do make a mistake, we got 51 other weeks this year to work hard to fix it. So with that in mind, you can go out there and take chances. And that's what we try to do here. Like sometimes we're going to take chances. Sometimes we're going to kill off a character and actually kill the character off. Sometimes we're going to do things that are a little bit wacky. And sometimes you end up with the Ultimate X and sometimes you end up with Reverse Battle Royal. Some of them work, some of them don't. You keep what works, you get rid of what doesn't. So I think what we do better than anybody is tell great stories. And I think there's lots of great stories out there in wrestling. I think one of the things that we do is we tell stories really deep. If you're on a roster, whether you're Josh Alexander or Moose or Steve Macklin or whether you're Johnny Swinger, you've got a story and you've got a reason why you're on our show. And I think that's something that's a little bit unique in today's wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. And finally, I just thought I'd ask, because I was a massive fan when it was the Team Canada, America's Most Wanted era. How fondly do you look back on your time when I thought you was the best manager in the business? Team Canada, how do you look back on that with great admiration? Because it was the feuds were incredible and the matches week and week, month to month were great.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the best times of my career. It was, the core of Team Canada, Petey Williams, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and myself, lucky enough to be there. We came up together. We did independence together. Like, I'm a little older than them. I was around before them. I worked with all of them when they broke in. But we were doing little independence around Ontario, Canada together. And to sit there, I remember before Victory Road, the first 3-hour pay-per-view that we did in Orlando, we went out there and there was kind of a moment where we stood there and we're all kind of like guys, look at where we are. And it was, it was a bit of a tearful moment because it's just like take it all in. The fact that we were there as Team Canada, the thing I love is that we really were a team. Like we traveled together, we worked together, we ate together, we supported each other. There's a time in this company where they considered letting Eric Young go, and all the guys came and said, just so you know, if he goes, we go. Good. And as somebody was in the front office, like, oh, that's not a great thing we're gonna have to deal with. But kind of as like their coach, and it's kind of like, their coach not on TV, but some of their coach, in the business. I was kind of like good on them, you know. So I loved those moments, and I mean, it was truly special to me to work for those, work with those individuals that means so much to me, and that I came up with. You know, it was truly special, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And I think it's so funny because when I joined TNA Wrestling in early 2003, I was like, okay, I'm done as a performer. I'm in the front office. I'm not doing that stuff anymore. And when the Team Canada idea came up, I kind of not politely declined. And then Jeff Jarrett let me know it was not an option. He let me know that it was instruction and not a question. And I'm grateful that he did, because I have so many great memories of that, and working with America's Most Wanted and 3 Live Crew and everybody else. And I mean, the stuff with AJ and Petey, and it was just, it was a truly special time. At that point in time, we knew in our core we were doing something special. And I have that same feeling now as we return to TNA Wrestling.
Scott, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Lee.
All the very
Appreciate
best.
it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank
Thank you.